The millionaire shouted at his secretary, but what she said left everyone in shock. The boardroom was frozen in time as Barry Westwood, the notorious billionaire with a sharp tongue and an even sharper suit, erupted in a fit of rage. His face was scarlet, eyes gleaming with fury, as he slammed his fist on the polished table, causing the crystal water glasses to rattle. It was a scene surely meant for the tabloids, but what happened next was a moment that would become the stuff of legends. Everyone in the room held their breath. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. As the shouting waned, his secretary, Olivia, who usually sat quietly, stood up. She was small but fierce, her dark hair pulled back tightly, and her round glasses amplifying her wide eyes. She looked at him, unblinking, and then said something that pierced the air like a bullet. "You think your money can buy silence?" The words hung there, heavy with underlying threats that sent shivers down the spines of everyone present. Barry staggered back, his anger replaced by disbelief. The silence swallowed the tremors of shock from the others. Murmurs began to ripple through the boardroom like a wave. "Did she really just say that?" one man whispered. You could see the color drain from Barry's face, replacing rage with sheer confusion. And that S when the whispers morphed into apprehension, recalling the rumors that had danced around the office like shadows, whispers of secrets buried deep, of people disappearing after knowing too much. Could this be it? Someone thought, as they exchanged glances of fear. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back in the boardroom, the atmosphere shifted. Barry's jaw locked tight as he processed her words. Panic flickered in Olivia's eyes, but she held her ground. "You're not invincible, Barry," she snapped, breathing heavily. The room seemed to shrink, each gaze felt like a spotlight turning on her, intensifying the scrutiny and fear. There was a sudden crackling energy, swelling like a storm about to break. Then the fire alarms blared, piercing the heavy silence. Everyone sprang from their seats, adrenaline rushing through them like lightning. But amidst the chaos, someone noticed something unusual. Olivia was reaching into her pocket, a small flash of metal glimmering under the harsh lights. Was it a key? A flash drive? Or something far more dangerous? The room erupted into frantic chatter as people scrambled toward the exits, but all eyes were on Olivia. A sudden realization struck like a thunderclap: secrets had a way of exposing themselves, even in the darkest of places. What had she hidden? And now, as a crowd gathered outside, a new drama began to unfold. With hearts racing, everyone awaited the next shocking revelation. What was on that flash drive, and would it unravel everything they thought they knew? Smoke swirled in the air as the piercing fire alarms pierced the anxious atmosphere. The lights flickered, casting shadows that danced along the walls. Olivia's heart pounded like a drum in her chest as she held the small flash drive tightly, feeling its cold edge bite into her palm. The boardroom, once a domain of power, had devolved into chaos, and she could sense every pair of eyes boring into her. "Did you really think you could just reveal everything and walk away?" Barry's voice, usually commanding and confident, had turned into a sneering hiss. While the throng of employees poured out of the exits, he advanced towards her, eyes narrowed, his anger rekindling like a fiery phoenix. "You've put us all in danger." "Danger? Or are you just afraid of the truth?" Olivia shot back, defiant. Her fingers trembled, but she held her ground. Deep down, she could almost hear the dark rumors clawing at her sanity, threatening to drag her back into silence. Just then, the unthinkable happened. Booming footsteps echoed behind Barry as security personnel stormed in, their expressions hard as stone. The murmurs outside grew louder. Some employees had already whipped out their phones, ready to document the fiery scene unfolding inside. "Olivia, you need to hand it over," one of the guards commanded, his voice a deadpan threat. "Now." A flurry of emotions raced through her, fear, anger, even a glimmer of something like vindication. Hadn't she been waiting for this moment? The moment she could finally take a stand against the tyranny of money and power. "You'll never get it," she said, clenching her fists. Her plastic defenses were cracking under the pressure emotion surged inside her. "Anyone who tries to stand up to me usually doesn't end well," Barry's voice cut like ice. "You think you're special because you had one good idea?" He paced down the long table, eyes darting around the room like a predator searching for prey. But before she could respond, a smooth voice interrupted the tension. "Let her be, Barry." It was Lisa, the company's COO, slinking through the throng smoothly like an alley cat. The crowd parted for her, sensing the authoritative power she carried. She might actually have something important to share. "What?" Barry snapped, eyes narrowed. "You think she is some kind of hero now?" "This isn't about heroes, Barry. It's about survival and the truth." Lisa's voice softened but held a dangerous edge. Olivia felt a flicker of hope. Could there be an ally amidst the sharks? Suddenly, the lights cut out, plunging the room into darkness. A collective gasp echoed, followed by an uproar of confusion. "Someone sabotaged the system," Barry shouted. His voice sliced through the darkness like a knife. In that moment of chaos, Olivia felt another rush of adrenaline. She had to act fast. She raised the flash drive as if it were a beacon of light, her heart racing. She stepped closer to Barry, her resolve hardening. "Let me show them everything." Before she even finished, the emergency lights flickered back on, casting an eerie glow across the boardroom as fear fell heavy like a shroud. Silence blanketed the tension for a heartbeat. Then someone shouted from the back, "What's south on the drive, Olivia?" In that split second, she realized the weight of what she was about to unleash could shatter lives. Would her secret, whatever it was, end in destruction or liberation? Olivia had only one shot. As Barry's glare turned murderous and the murmurs grew in intensity, she felt the room tilt. Would she be the one to break open the dam of truth that could drown them all? The clock was ticking, and Olivia knew, this might be her only moment to decide everything. And as she prepared to speak, a message pinged on her phone, pulling her attention urgently. But the screen went black just as she reached for it. "It's too late," she whispered, feeling paralyzed between choices. What had she just set in motion, and would anyone survive the fallout? The silence was deafening. Olivia's heart thundered, drowning out the chilling voices of the crowd. For a moment, she felt suspended in time, every breath painfully stretched. Barry's eyes were aflame as if the very shadows around him had ignited. "Tell us." Someone called from the back, their voice tinged with desperation. The urgency laced through the room, and Olivia could feel a knot of dread forming in her stomach. She couldn't back down now. I found something," she stammered, her own voice sounding strange to her ears. "Documents, secret transactions. They show everything: corruption, greed, manipulation. It's all in here." She held the flash drive aloft, as if it might grant her the strength she needed. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Barry hissed, pushing against the tide of uncertainty. Sweat glistened on his forehead, intent on controlling the damage. He stepped back slightly, revealing the extent of his agitation. "You'll ruin us all." "You mean ruin you," Olivia shot back, her voice gaining confidence. "You and the privileged few at the top who think taking advantage of us is all that matters." A murmur rippled through the boardroom. Employees were glancing at each other, weighing the risks against the truth Olivia promised. Lisa's expression was unreadable, but she stayed close to Olivia, almost protectively. "If this is real," Lisa said, her tone steady, "you might just save us from ourselves." "Save you? From what?" "Yourself. Barry exploded. He looked as though he was about to explode, his rage boiling just under the surface. You're playing a dangerous game, Olivia. They won't take kindly to this rebellion. Who? The people you've manipulated for far too long. This is about integrity. Olivia shouted, her voice firm. She could feel the weight of the room's energy shift. Hope sparked like a flame in the eyes of a few, while horror twisted the faces of others. Just then, the emergency lights flickered again, casting dramatic shadows. A guard moved forward. What is going on here? His stern expression scrutinized Olivia, and she felt her breath hitch. Did you really find something? Olivia opened her mouth but was struck silent as the lights flickered once more. The emergency sirens were now blaring like an urgent pulse, each wail escalating the tension. Look, let us not make this worse than it has to be, Lisa interjected, her voice a mixture of authority and calm. We need to control this before it spirals out of hand. But she cast a glance at Olivia, urging her to act. This was it. She had to choose between silence and the truth. The very drive she held had the potential to change everything. With a sharp inhale, she nodded. I'll show you, but I think you need to be prepared for the consequences. What consequences? Barry countered, a sneer creeping onto his face. You really believe they'll just suddenly? A crash echoed from the back as someone stumbled into the room, gasping for breath. They're coming. Secure the area. His wide eyes darted across the crowd, panic visible. The crowd erupted in chaos, the murmurs tearing into screams, people shoving towards exits. Olivia felt a shock of fear pulse through her veins. Who is coming? She demanded, her voice cutting through the din. Secured, Barry. You did this. The guard yelled, pointing an accusatory finger at Barry. Didn't he? You? Enough. Barry bellowed, but his authority faltered. The reality began to weigh heavy on everyone. As a tidal wave of uncertainty washed over the room, Olivia took a deep breath. She could either run with the chaos or stand tall with her truth. With a shaking hand, she pushed the flash drive forward, her resolve hardening. This might be our only chance to do something right. Then, her phone rang again, its screen lighting up and blaring a message just as she caught Barry's fearful gaze. What if it was someone in authority? The police? Instinctively, she reached for it, but the chaos around her intensified. How could she focus when everything seemed to be collapsing? In that moment, a deep voice thundered from the back, They've found us. No one is going anywhere. The room froze. Fear turned to ice inside Olivia. The stakes had just risen. What had she unwittingly unleashed? And now, she needed to know, who was really coming? And would they be the ones to determine the fate of the truth or the lives shattered in its path? The air felt electric as Olivia stood frozen, the weight of her flash drive like a boulder in her hand. Every pair of eyes in the room turned to her, searching for answers she wasn't sure she had. The guard who had bolted into the room seemed to feed off the chaos, his face a picture of dread. They're close. You need to listen to me. What do you mean, they've found us? Barry spat, trying to regain control, his face a mask of fury mixed with fear. They're enforcers. They work for the company's corrupt higher-ups. The guard panted, his words tumbling from his lips in a frenzied rush. People who'll do anything to keep this under wraps. The mention of enforcers sent a chill through Olivia. She had assumed she was alone in her fight, but now it felt as if shadows were lurking, more malignant than the flickering emergency lights around them. Everyone, calm down. Barry barked, trying to reclaim some semblance of order, but his red face only fueled the mounting hysteria. We'll sort this out, just stick together. Lisa stepped forward, her bravado a thin veneer over her own blossoming anxiety. No. We need to take action. If they're coming for us, we don't have time to waste on Barry's lies anymore. Lies? He seethed, his eyes darting nervously. You're ungrateful. This company made you. Don't you get it? Olivia's voice shook, matching the tempo of the sirens outside. It's not just about the company. It's about the lives we're risking. Those documents could save us, but only if we act now. A sudden noise echoed, a heavy thud followed by shouts outside the boardroom doors. The panic spread like wildfire. Olivia could feel her throat tighten as she realized the reality crashing toward them. This wasn't just an empty threat, their very lives were at stake. "We're not going to be silenced," Lisa shouted, emboldened as she faced an increasingly frantic Barry. "We are not pawns in your game anymore." But their protests were barely heard over the clattering behind the door. "Secure the exits. Forward security," came another booming order from the hallway. Within seconds, a group of enforcers burst through the entrance, clad in black uniforms, their eyes scanning the room with cold purpose. The chaos surged anew, people screaming, scrambling against each other. Olivia's heart raced as she locked eyes with the lead enforcer, whose steely gaze sent a shudder down her spine. "Step away from the flash drive," he commanded, his voice deep and authoritative, sending echoes through the now chaotic room. Fear dripped from the edges as Olivia tightened her grip, unwilling to let go of what had become her only lifeline. "No!" Barry shouted, panic poisoning his voice. "They'll kill us all if we don't comply." "Shut your mouth, Barry." Olivia shot back, her fear inflaming her courage. "They won't stop until they have everything. This is why we have to keep fighting." The enforcers advanced, a menacing formation closing in around her. Each step they took echoed ominously, drowning out the panicked sobs of her co-workers. "Hand it over, and no one gets hurt," the lead enforcer warned, stepping forward as if pulling Olivia into his maze of intimidation. She couldn't let fear rule her. With her heart racing, she retorted, "If I had the choice between my life and the truth, I'd choose the truth every time." The air shifted, and she could sense the collective breath of the room holding in fear and anticipation. Then, from the far corner, a low voice pierced through the tension. "You think this is just about you? You have no idea." Olivia, every head pivoted toward the voice, the sense of doom wrapping tighter around them all. What secrets lay hidden beneath the surface? And how far would they go to keep it all under wraps? Olivia braced herself, knowing the worst was still yet to come. The tension thickened like fog as Olivia locked eyes with the figure in the corner. The voice that had interrupted the chaos didn't belong to anyone she recognized. Panic surged through the crowd, and suddenly, it felt like they were all prisoners of a horror movie. "Who are you?" Barry shouted, shifting nervously, glancing back at the enforcers. "This is not the time for games." The figure stepped closer into the dim light, a woman in a crisp white blouse and glasses perched precariously on her nose. Olivia felt a flicker of recognition, but it was buried under the dread that churned inside her. "What I know would change everything," the woman said, her voice steady, despite the bedlam around them. "Enough with the riddles. We need a plan." Lisa shouted, stepping forward, her fists clenched at her sides, ready for a fight. The lead enforcer's eyes narrowed, a smirk creeping onto his face. "A plan? You think you have time for a plan? You're out of your league here." The woman ignored him, her gaze locked on Olivia. "You have no idea what you possess," she continued, her composure unwavering. "That flash drive holds secrets that could expose everything. But it also makes you a target. They won't stop until they have it, until they have you." Olivia's heart raced. "What aren't you telling us?" she demanded, her voice quivering but fierce. "I used to work for them. I know how deep this goes. And your lives? They are merely collateral damage," the woman confessed, anguish lacing her words. "This isn't just about the company or the enforcers. It's personal, and deadly. Why should we trust you?" Barry's voice trembled, laced with skepticism. "Because they will kill you. And I can help you escape," she said simply. The words hung in the air, heavy with desperation, cutting against the noise of the enforcers moving closer. A rumble of disbelief rippled through the crowd. "This is all insane!" someone cried out. "Olivia couldn't tell who. We can't just walk out." But it was too late. The enforcers spread out, encroaching like shadows, their intentions clear. "Enough chatter!" the lead enforcer barked. "Give me the flash drive now or face the consequences." The atmosphere was charged, everyone caught in a precarious balance of fear and confusion. Olivia felt the weight of every decision, every life hanging by a thread. She needed to find a way out, not just for herself, but for everyone around her. "You have to decide, Olivia," the woman urged, stepping dangerously close. "They won't waste time asking again. You have to be brave." How could bravery exist in a moment like this? Every instinct screamed at her to run, to save her own skin. Yet, standing there, she felt the collective fear of her coworkers surging through her like a wave of boiling water. They were counting on her. "On three," she said suddenly, her voice firm. "We hold together. Whatever happens, we don't back down." "What?" Barry's eyes widened. "You're insane. We'll be killed." "Maybe," she replied, shaking her head. "But staying silent means we walk straight into a trap. And if I've learned anything, it's that we have a better chance together than alone." A tense silence filled the room. The enforcers paused, sensing the shift in their energy, and Olivia felt the fervor of rebellion rippling through her. She locked eyes with Lisa and then the others, gathering their strength, their resolve. "Now!" she shouted, and just when the crowd surged, breaking free of their stunned state, a deafening crash echoed from the door as a hidden escape route swung open. A blur of figures rushed in, taking the enforcers by surprise. Everything exploded into chaos, the tension of betrayal and hope twisted around Olivia as she caught a glimpse of what lay ahead: a chance, perhaps freedom. Could they really break free from the shadows, or would this only bring more danger? There was no turning back. All Olivia could do was take a leap into the unknown. The chaos erupted like a storm. Bodies surged in every direction, frantic faces illuminated by the flickering overhead lights. Olivia's heart hammered in her chest as she pushed forward, desperately trying to make sense of the whirlwind around her. The lead enforcer's voice pierced through the din, barking orders that faded into a blend of panic and confusion. Around her, people raced for the door, some spotting a glimpse of escape while others froze, paralyzed by fear. The woman in the white blouse had disappeared into the fray, her promise of help evaporating as swiftly as the chaos unfolded. Olivia felt the pressing need to lead, to gather everyone, but as she turned to her coworkers, she saw confusion etched in their expressions. "Stick together!" she shouted, her voice raw. "Don't let them separate you." The enforcers retaliated, their authoritative shouts mingling with grunts and the thud of boots on concrete. Olivia could see one of them charging towards Lisa, who had hesitated just behind her. Instinctive panic surged within her as she reached out, grabbing Lisa's wrist with urgency, pulling her toward the growing chaos of the hidden door. "Go!" Olivia yelled as she tugged her friend into motion, heart racing. They were just a few feet away when the lead enforcer twisted, locking eyes with Olivia, a malicious grin spreading across his face. He was relentless, powerful. "Stop right there!" he commanded, lurching forward like a predator ready to pounce. Time slowed. Olivia's thoughts blurred as adrenaline kicked in. She spotted the flash drive still clutched in her fist, the literal key to their survival, and a lead weight in her pocket. She squeezed it tightly, a metaphorical lifeline. "We have to go now!" she screamed, the urgency in her voice threading through her panic. The crowd roared as more shadows spilled into the room, an army of confusion and defiance. Somehow a group of her coworkers had rallied behind her, joining forces in a fight for freedom. "Back off!" Barry shouted, finding his courage as he swung a bar stool at one of the enforcers, its wooden frame colliding with a sickening thud. The enforcer staggered back, momentarily stunned. Seizing the opportunity, Olivia pushed through the throng, urging everyone to move. "To the door! Don't look back!" She felt Lisa's hand clammy in hers, but they couldn't stop now. It was into the unknown or nowhere. As they barreled toward the escape, the crushing sound of boots closed in behind them. The enforcers regrouped, shouting commands, their shrill voices growing louder. The sight of them edged Olivia further into panic. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated through the room. A heavy object fell as one of the enforcers lost his balance. "Go!" Olivia roared again, her voice rising above the clamor. They dove through the doorway in a panicked rush, spilling out into the narrow corridor beyond. But the hallway stretched before them like an endless tunnel, dimly lit and disorienting. Olivia had no clue what lay ahead, only the need to keep moving, to escape the danger that clawed at their heels. The sound of scrambling feet echoed behind them, deafening in its urgency. They were being hunted. Which way? Someone cried, frantically twisting to scan their surroundings. Left. Olivia shouted, pointing toward a flicker of light in the distance. She hoped it led to safety, but doubt gnawed at her. If she was wrong, they turned left, racing down the corridor as the sounds of pursuit intensified. Olivia's heart sank as she heard the enforcers gaining, a dark wave thrumming through the air, palpable and threatening, but just as they reached another intersection, the doors at the end of the corridor burst open, an unexpected flood of enforcers pouring in from the side. A moment of futility rooted Olivia to the spot, desperation churned within her. What now? She gasped, turning to face the walls closing in around them. Stand your ground. Lisa stated, gripping Olivia's shoulder, her expression a mix of fear and fierce determination. This couldn't be the end. They had to fight, to find a way within this deadly game. And then it struck Olivia, the flash drive, the woman's warnings. She needed to reveal its power, but how? What if there's another way? She murmured, a plan starting to form. But as she turned back to the chaos, a silhouette appeared, cloaked in the shadows, a familiar face. Stop. If you want to save yourselves, you need to trust me. The figure stepped into the dim light of the corridor, revealing the unmistakable features of Ethan, a former ally who had vanished weeks ago amid the turmoil. His usually calm demeanor was replaced by a wild urgency, lines of stress etched on his face. Ethan! Olivia exclaimed, disbelief washing over her. What are you doing here? No time for questions. He shouted, glancing back as the footsteps of the enforcers drew nearer. Follow me. I know a way out. The urgency in his voice tore through her confusion. Olivia exchanged a quick glance with Lisa, who nodded, and without hesitating, they plunged into the shadows, following Ethan's lead. As they raced down the narrow passageway, the sounds of chaos grew distant, but they were far from safe. Ethan glanced back over his shoulder, every flicker of his gaze revealing the weight of the danger lurking behind them. We have to move, now. He urged, pulling them into a side corridor that branched off into darkness. Where does this lead? Olivia asked, her breath catching as they skidded into the confined space. The walls felt claustrophobic, closing in around them as if the whole building was alive and aware of their presence. A maintenance tunnel, Ethan said, his voice low but steady. It connects to the old service lift. If we can reach it, we might just slip out without getting caught. Olivia felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, even as doubt gnawed at her. But she couldn't afford hesitation. Let us go. They pressed forward, every step echoing off the concrete walls. The way was dark, their only illumination coming from emergency exit signs that flickered sporadically above them. Each burst of light cast haunting shadows that danced and twisted, mirroring the turmoil inside Olivia's chest. Do you really think this will work? Lisa whispered, her breath shaky. I have to believe it will, Olivia replied, clenching the flash drive tightly in her fist as if its physical presence would manifest the courage they needed. Underneath the fear, there was a flicker of defiance, a whisper of resilience. They had to believe there was a way out. They had to trust each other. Ethan stopped at a door marked with fading numbers. This is it, he said. But we need to be quiet. As they edged the door open, the sound of voices filtered in from the other side, mixing with the low rumble of machinery. Olivia could barely make out the conversation, harsh tones and authoritative commands floated on the air. The enforcers were close. "What do we do?" Barry murmured, panic edging his voice. Ethan's eyes blazed with determination. "We wait for the right moment. If we time this right, we can slip past them." Olivia squeezed her eyes shut, pushing back the rising tide of anxiety. It felt surreal. Would they really escape? Or was this a loop that would lead them back to the start? She didn't have time to unravel those thoughts. Suddenly, the door creaked, and they froze. The voices grew louder, almost tangible, as the enforcer scoured the area. Olivia held her breath, her heart thumping violently against her ribs. "Did you hear that?" one of the enforcers said, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Ethan caught Olivia's gaze. It was a silent understanding. They were in this together, come what may, but then, in the midst of the heightened anxiety, Olivia felt a tug at her mind, a strange impulse, the urge to make a bold move. The weight of the flash drive in her pocket was heavy, suffocating. Before she could second-guess herself, she turned to Ethan and whispered urgently, "It's now or never. We can't wait any longer." He nodded, determination flickering in his eyes. The moment had come. In one fluid motion, Olivia shoved the door open, the sudden clarity of action surging through her veins. "Run!" she shouted as they plunged into the swirl of voices and chaos. Awareness hit like a pulse of adrenaline. They darted forward, weaving through the shadows. Every sense heightened, the urge to survive urged every footstep. But just as they broke into a larger room, they were met with a shocking sight. Dozens of enforcers had gathered, their imposing figures lining the walls like an unbreakable fortress. "Stop!" boomed the lead enforcer. Olivia recognized, the malicious grin now broader, eyes gleaming with malicious triumph. "Thought you could escape?" Cold dread enveloped her, squeezing tighter than a vice. There was no way out, and it felt as if the air itself twisted around them in mocking laughter. "Welcome back," he sneered, stepping closer. "You've just stepped into a trap you can't escape from." Panic pulsed through Olivia's veins. Her heart raced, feeling as though it might burst. But within that fear, a new revelation sparked. If their backs were against the wall and every second mattered, maybe this flash drive was about to change everything. But could she make it work? Could it really hold the key to their survival, or would it be their downfall? As the enforcers closed in, leaving no room to breathe, Olivia knew they had one shot left. The choice lay heavily on her shoulders. What if it was too late? Ethan's grip tightened around her wrist, a steady reminder they weren't alone in this darkness. "Make your decision." The lead enforcer taunted, stepping in closer, shadowing them entirely. With the weight of the world on her shoulders, Olivia braced herself for what was to come. The enforcers closed in, their heavy boots echoing ominously against the concrete floor. Olivia's heart raced, pounding like a drum in her chest. She glanced at Lisa, whose eyes were wide with terror, and back at Ethan, his expression resolute, ready for anything. Yet the aggression from the lead enforcer felt overwhelming, suffocating. "Now!" Ethan shouted suddenly, the spike of urgency snapping through Olivia like electrical shock. At his cue, he pushed Olivia and Lisa forward, urging them to move. In that split second, every instinct screamed to fight, to defend, but all she could do was run. They bolted to the side, darting toward a shadowy corner as voices erupted into chaos behind them. The lead enforcer's shout was unmistakable, "Stop them! Don't let them escape!" Every footfall felt like a gunshot, echoing in the stillness. Olivia could feel her pulse throbbing in her ears, drowning out everything else. In the chaos, she clutched the flash drive tighter, willing it to mean something more than just a piece of technology. Just ahead, she spotted a small vent, slightly ajar. "There!" Olivia shouted, pointing. "We can fit through." Ethan hesitated, glancing back at the enforcers closing in with malicious grins. "Go!" I'll hold them off," he urged. "No," Lisa pleaded. "You can't do that. Just trust me." His eyes locked onto Olivia's, and she could see his determination mingled with fear. He was ready to risk everything. With a heavy heart, Olivia nodded and nudged Lisa toward the vent. "Get in," she urged, pushing Lisa forward as the blaring noise grew louder. Olivia scrambled after her, the confined space almost suffocating. They were head first into darkness, the metallic taste of fear clinging to their mouths. Ethan's voice echoed from behind, a desperate shout. "Run!" They crawled through the vent, the steel cool beneath them, the harsh sound of their breathing amplified in the cramped space. As they moved, the anxiety surged like a tidal wave. What would happen to Ethan? The question loomed large and terrifying. They finally reached a small opening and slipped through into a dimly lit utility room, filled with mops and buckets. No one was here. For the first time in a long while, Olivia felt a fleeting moment of relief. But it ended abruptly. "We need to get out of here," Lisa panted, her face pale, eyes darting. "Now." Olivia nodded, but as they scrambled to the door, it swung open violently, revealing an enforcer with a smirk that twisted Olivia's stomach. "Going somewhere?" he taunted, his voice dripping with malice. Panic rose again, a suffocating grip tightening around her throat. There was nowhere left to hide, no second chances. "Back!" Olivia shouted, instinctively shoving Lisa behind her as she prepared to defend them. The drive pulsed in her pocket, a heartbeat away from either hope or despair. "Do you think you can stop me?" the enforcer challenged, stepping forward. His confidence was unnerving, and Olivia stood her ground, adrenaline coursing through her. "Maybe it's time you found out," she shot back, formulating a plan in the chaos of her mind. With a sudden rush of audacity, she turned, fumbling for the drive, her fingers trembling. She realized this was at the moment she had been dreading and both craving. "Get ready!" she yelled to Lisa. The enforcer raised an eyebrow, amused, but she could already see the gears grinding in his mind as he registered her defiance. In that split second a heartbeat she understood that the flash drive was more than data. It was a symbol of their fight, of everything they believed in, and now its potential was about to be unleashed. The enforcer was about to laugh when Olivia's thumb flicked down on the drive's button, illuminating the room with a desperate glow. She felt a pulse of energy. Was it just her nerves, or was there something more? "Stop!" she commanded, flinging her arm out as bursts of information lit up the walls around them. But just as quickly, the enforcer lunged forward, eyes wide in disbelief. "What are you doing?" he hissed, the threat of violence rising again. As the data streamed across the walls, throwing light everywhere like a beacon, Olivia knew she had created chaos. But was this enough to buy them time, or was it a last-ditch effort destined for failure? The room was spinning with noise, a cacophony of angry voices and whirring machines. Maybe it was too late, and all her instincts screamed for her to fail, but like a spark from the darkness, Olivia steeled her heart. "Lisa, we need to move." They ducked sideways, ready to fight back. Yet behind them, a sound rang out, a familiar, welcome sound growing louder. Olivia dared to look back. "Ethan!" she cried out in disbelief, as he burst into the room, fierce determination etched on his face, ready to stand his ground. But at that moment, the trap closed tighter around them, as the glint of sharp blades appeared from the shadows, framing them for the ultimate showdown. In the eye of the storm, would they rise up together, or would they be caught in the relentless grip of fate? The question burned in the air, hanging like the heavy tension of a storm ready to break. And despite the chaos swirling around them, Olivia couldn't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning of their fight. Ethan's sudden appearance felt like a lightning bolt amidst the storm. He rushed in, eyes locked onto Olivia and Lisa, his presence a mix of urgency and resolve. "Get ready!" he shouted, muscles coiling like a spring. The enforcer sneered, his confidence only growing with their collective panic. "You think you can save them, hero? You're just a dead man walking." In a split-second decision, Olivia instinctively stepped back, grasping Lisa's arm. "We need to barricade ourselves," she yelled, scanning the room for anything that could serve as a shield. The eerie glow of the information streaming across the walls painted strange shadows around them. Ethan darted to grab a heavy metal bucket, heaving it toward the door. As it crashed against the concrete, it bought them a fraction of a second. Olivia didn't hesitate. "Throw the mops. Anything," she shouted, and together they began tossing whatever they could find in chaos: mops, chemicals, anything to buy time. The enforcer, momentarily bewildered by their sudden offensive, growled. "Fools! You can't escape." He surged forward, blades glinting in the dim light, and Olivia knew he meant business. "Lisa, go!" Ethan shouted, urgency injected into his voice. Lisa's face twisted with fear and uncertainty. "I can't leave you here. For once, listen. You need to survive," Ethan said, his voice shaking with emotion. The enforcer lunged again, and Olivia felt cold steel brush against her skin. Swift reflexes pulled her away just in time, but the sharp sensation left a mark. Adrenaline blasted through her veins. "We have to get out now." Lisa stumbled back, eyes darting away from the razor-edge menace. "What about Ethan?" she pleaded, torn between fear and loyalty. "Just go. I can hold him off," Ethan urged, determination etched on his face even as the enforcer circled like a predator. "Never!" Olivia shouted, turning towards Ethan's agonizing choice. "We're not leaving you." The enforcer straightened, amusement twisting his lips. "This is entertaining," he drawled, feigning abandonment of his target. "Makes it more enjoyable when I finally..." Before he could finish, with a burst of bravery, Olivia swung a mop at him, the end crashing into his side, making him grunt in surprise. "Over here!" she shouted, pulling his focus. It gave Ethan just enough time to strike, lunging toward the enforcer with a flying kick, sending him staggering back. But then, a sharp cry. Lisa had slipped through the entrance, pushing past, surprising Olivia. "I'll distract him." Lisa's voice was high, trembling but fierce. "Hurry." "No!" Olivia screamed, grabbing Lisa's arm to pull her back. "Use the drive," Lisa demanded, pointing at the glowing device in Olivia's pocket. Time slowed as reality collided with choice. The enforcer was regaining his footing, eyes narrowing upon them, and Ethan stood solid, readying for the forthcoming battle. "Just do it." Lisa's voice broke free from the vital moment around them. Olivia hesitated, her heart racing as she glanced at Ethan, whose jaw was clenched tight. "If we fail, we won." Ethan snapped, readying himself to throw a nearby bucket as a diversion. His fierce determination sparked something in Olivia. She nodded, eyes fierce, and drew the flash drive from her pocket, feeling its weight like an anchor of hope. "Stand back," she urged, pressing the button again, illuminating the room brighter and casting shadows everywhere. Data streamed out in a dazzling display, throwing images against the walls, a chaotic light show against their grim reality. "You think technology will save you?" The enforcer spat, lunging once more, this time faster, but Olivia was ready. "Maybe it will," she shouted, her fingers still hovering over the button, the energy pulsating through her. With one final push, she unleashed a powerful surge of blinding light, flooding the room and momentarily stunning the enforcer. "Now!" she yelled. Chaos erupted as Ethan and Olivia pushed their way out, leaving Lisa determinedly darting out behind them. Yet, just as they slipped past the enforcer, a loud crash reverberated behind them. The sound of shattering glass sliced through the air, and Olivia risked a glance back, heart and throat. What she saw left her frozen. Something shifted behind the enforcer, shadows flickering ominously. A second figure loomed, powerful and menacing, eyes glinting with the promise of immediate danger. "Oh no, not him," Olivia whispered, her stomach twisting in knots. Time had run out, and as they hurried down the hallway, the feeling of dread wrapped around them tighter than any grip. Who was that? Lisa demanded, panic rising in her voice. I don't know, Ethan replied, breathless, anger and fear mixing in his gaze. But as they turned another corner, a chilling laughter echoed down the corridor, resonating in their bones. Keep running, Olivia urged, pushing them forward. But as they sprinted toward the exit, the fear of what awaited them clawed at her heart. Would they find safety, or was this chase leading them right into the jaws of even more insurmountable danger? The racing uncertainty ignited a flicker of rebellion within. And somewhere in the shadows behind, the game had just begun. The air felt dense, heavy with uncertainty as Olivia sprinted forward. Each breath became sharper, each footfall pounded with urgency as she dashed down the dimly lit corridor. Behind them, chaos simmered, a loud crash echoed, followed by panicked shouts from enforcers regrouping. We can't stop, she urged, her heart racing as she glanced back briefly, catching sight of the malevolent figure trailing them. Keep going, Ethan shouted, anger and fear tangled in his voice. Their feet pounded on the concrete, a frantic escape from the inevitable consequences of their fight for truth. They didn't just need to run, they needed a plan. Rounding a corner, Olivia spotted a door at the end of the hallway, a flickering emergency exit sign beckoning like a lighthouse in their storm. That way, she yelled, adrenaline surging anew. They pushed forward, the muffled sirens blaring louder in the distance. Wait. Lisa's voice cut through the chaos, fear tinged in her tone. What if it's a trap? No time for doubts, Olivia replied, pushing her instincts aside. She had led them this far, she refused to let fear paralyze them now. They reached the door and Olivia wrenched it open, the hinges squealing in protest. A blast of cool air hit them. Freedom or a mirage? Beyond lay a narrow alley, dimly lit and deserted under coarse concrete walls. The world outside felt constrained, but it was still breathing. Where do we go now? Barry gasped, still catching his breath, anxiety etched across his face. Anywhere but here, Olivia said, heart pounding, pushing them out into the night. The chill pressed in, thick and unsettling. They took off, running down the alley, the adrenaline propelling them into an unknown horizon. We have to split up. It's our best chance, Ethan suggested breathlessly, determination burning in his eyes. No, Olivia blurted, panic welling within. We need to stick together. But just as she spoke, a siren split the air in the distance, growing closer, the sound barreling toward them like an ominous wind. Fear gripped her heart. They're coming. They know. Ethan hesitated but recognized the urgency and nodded. All right, then let us hide. Over there. He pointed towards a cluster of dumpsters, their shadowy angles promising concealment. They ducked behind them, their breaths slow and measured. The sounds of footsteps echoed louder, enforcers on the prowl. Olivia squeezed into the narrow space, she could hear their voices, a mixture of frustration and anger, searching for them in a frenzy. One of them has the flash drive. A guard barked, fueling Olivia's fear. The implications of being caught washed over her like icy water. Another voice followed, dismissive, no matter. We'll flush them out. Olivia's pulse quickened, every word tightening the grip of dread around her chest. She needed to act, but the weight of the drive felt heavy in her pocket, as if it were whispering her fate. At that moment, the woman in the white blouse flickered in her mind, the voice of promise, the beacon of hope. What if the information on that drive was more than just a threat? What if Olivia could use it to turn the tides against her pursuers? Olivia, Lisa whispered, pulling her back to their present situation. What if we get caught? Then we won't be silent anymore. We'll fight. Olivia said, her voice steeling, her heart igniting with a renewed sense of purpose. Just as the guards passed, Olivia seized the opportunity to make a plan. Listen, we might only get one shot. If we can get their attention. A series of footsteps echoed just around the corner, drowning out her thoughts. The enforcers were closing in. I'll draw them away, Ethan said suddenly, his jaw set with determination. No, you don't have to do that. Olivia pleaded, panic rising again. I have to. He insisted, eyes blazing. Find somewhere safe, and use that drive. Before she could stop him, Ethan straightened, striding boldly into the path of the enforcers. Hey! Over here! He yelled, voice strong and commanding. Not smart, one of the guards grated, and Olivia felt her heart lurch as they turned toward him, confusion evident. Without thinking, Olivia dashed toward the noise, determination igniting into a blaze. If they were going to act, they had to act now. Ethan! She screamed, rushing through the chaos. Come back! With a swift motion, she pressed a button on the flash drive, triggering its data to illuminate. The nearby walls came alive with the flickering light, a holographic barrage of documents, files, and undeniable truths projected into the frantic air. The enforcer's eyes widened, faces shifting from anger to disbelief. What is that? One of them shouted, momentarily distracted. Olivia seized the moment, pushing through the chaos. This is our proof. It's time for the truth. She yelled, her voice echoing with unstoppable conviction. In that instant, she felt everything align, a surge of unity binding them together, prompting her coworkers to rally around her, emboldened by the revelation spilling out into their reality. The enforcers were momentarily stunned, hesitation marking their movements. Grab the drive, Olivia. Lisa urged, pulling her back from the precipice. It's now or never. If their future hinged on truth, then this was the moment to take back their power. The next move would define everything. Let us go. Olivia shouted, determination coursing through her as they surged forward, preparing to face the enforcers head-on with conviction fueled by truth. An explosive outcry erupted, and as if time slowed, Olivia rushed forward alongside her friends, her heart swelling with the fire of rebellion and the urge to reclaim their lives. The ultimate standoff had not only begun, it had become a catalyst for change, and as they charged into the unknown, Olivia knew deep down that they'd finally chosen their fate. United, they stepped toward the shadows, ready to face whatever darkness confronted them, vowing to unveil the truths that had long been buried. But this fight was just beginning. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. And smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your engagement is crucial in making sure you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Get involved today.